All of civilization was founded with some form of a weapon. That is literally how we have built civilizations, whether good or bad. You said that we shot Obama. So the whole briefing there, it was all Obama. I'll never forget it. Kind of a guy that with Funker 530, I study war. That's what I do, history. There is a necessary tickle of that line between confidence and arrogance that direct action guys have to have, right? You have to get all the way up to the point to where if you take one more step, you're gonna do something stupid and you're either gonna get yourself killed or a team member killed. But playing with that line between confidence and arrogance, in my opinion, is where excellence comes.
Thank you for checking out the Operation Onward podcast. Help us build this veteran community and get the word out. Like, subscribe, share it on all your platforms. Help us beat the algorithm. Enjoy the show. Welcome to Operation Onward. Today we have the honor, the privilege of sitting down with Mr. Ronnie Adkins, Funker 530, yep. American Marksman, yep. Army veteran, Army active duty,
Army service.
Is
the right term for it, I guess.
And just a great guy. Ronnie, I'm super excited to sit down with you today. Share a little bit about your story. I'm a huge fan, and I'm also a fan of a lot of the directions that you're taking your brand, and so just excited to share that story. Welcome to the story, the studio, Ronnie.
Dude, this is
Thanks
awesome.
for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me. This has been kind of a whole different experience after coming off a mountain 5 days ago, just being immersed in, all the culture that we have here at the MIC. It's my first time at the MIC, and my first time chatting with you guys, which I'm really excited about some of the things to talk about, especially with, medical and the things that I need to do as a veteran. So this is almost a learning experience for me. There's just so much. I don't know what I don't know. And, nobody knows that more than me. So I'm looking forward for us to get into some pretty important stuff that I know tons of veterans that they just don't know what their first step is. And when you guys reached out and asked if I wanted to do this, I was like, yeah, well, be ready to talk, because I need to be in listen mode.
Yeah,
to be honest.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you say you came off a mountain a couple of days ago. Like, that's legit. Like, literally came off of a mountain.
Yeah.
And you've got an amazing brand coming. Can you tell the audience a little bit about American Marksman and what you have coming up?
Yes. So American Marksman is kind of my dream. It's been something in the works for the last couple years. We're doing it as really a part of Funker 530. So Funker 530 has been around for a long time, but it's really been kind of a veteran team behind the curtain, just helping people understand war, right? So it's important to kind of start there, and then we'll probably circle back and talk more about Funker.
Yeah, we will.
Well, but what we all are is we're all shooters, right? We're all hunters, outdoorsmen. We love to fish. We love to be outside. Our generation, I think, is probably one of the last generations to really grow up outside. We got into technology as we got a little bit older, became adults. Look at the technology around this room. But there's a different feeling that you get when you step outside, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you're out in the wilderness and you're doing the things you were doing as a kid, running up and down the hills, taking the fast way down and rolling down them. I had to do that a couple times on the mountain. I don't recommend it. There's a different feeling that you get, and that's what we want to share with people. So what American Marksman is actually an examination of our culture as Americans. We were founded with a rifle, right? And men to use that rifle. And we will survive behind a rifle as long as there are men, and I use that term as, humans, to use that rifle. So marksmanship as a core skill is so critical to us as a nation. Taking it back to history, the very first thing that we launched wasn't even this fantastic wilderness episode. It was just me in the studio telling a story about Daniel Morgan and Morgan's rifles. They were really the first of us to be called by our nation to serve in 1775 to go support General Washington at the siege of Boston, solely because they knew how to use their rifles. They were rifled barrels. It gave them a capability that the British didn't have. The British at the time, outside of the Hessian Jägers, the Germans, the British at the time had like the Brown Bess, which you could hit something at like 100 yards, minute a barn door at about that. But these rifled barrels that our frontiersmen and survivalists were using, they were accurized because they relied on it. They had this core necessity to be able to put a shot on game, put food on the table, and survive in the American wilderness. Well, they were called by the Continental Congress to serve, to essentially use those same skills to hunt two-legged game. That culture of just being a marksman, whether you're hunting, whether you're a professionally trained sniper, or you're a competitor, or you're a guy in the backyard, popping Coke cans with a 22, that culture, in my opinion, is erring on the side of being lost to time. American Marksman is quite literally an examination of all of those things. You're going to see, my friends and I is really what it is. We're going to go on hunts. We're going to go on extreme long range, which is my preferred shooting discipline, 1.5 miles, stuff like that.
That's crazy.
You're going to see us.
That's wild.
Well, it's a whole ball of wax. That's a game of strategy, and you're fighting against Mother Nature, and oftentimes you get slapped in the no-no. It can be really tough. But marksmanship transcends all of those things. And again, I was on my high school's marksmanship team. I don't. Do we even still have those? Like, I can't
know
be.
That was a thing in high school.
Precisely.
No, it was. I grew up in rural North Carolina, right? We had it, right? But we also had, the FFA and
yeah.
So
I think you'll still find it in rural areas, but it's. I mean, there were firearm safety courses and all kinds of stuff that you could take in schools. Now you mentioned firearms whatsoever, and it's become this polarizing political topic.
Such a trigger,
and it's so disappointing because, I mean, foundationally and ultimately, all of civilization was founded with some form of a weapon. That is literally how we have built civilizations, whether good or bad. Some of them kind of bad, but that there's no harm in holding, owning, and operating a firearm or a bow or any of these things, especially because of how many different things that it transcends for us as a culture.
Yeah.
Right? Men took a firearm into the wilderness when they were expanding west, and that's the only thing that they took, maybe a hatchet or a tomahawk, and they survived with it.
And that's how they provided for themselves.
They took game.
Bodies, right? They took game.
They built shelter with that game's hides.
Our founders took firearms into the wilderness.
Yeah.
That's how they.
I mean, they were out there, literally just their firearm. They had to take game to get the hide off of it. They turned that hide into shelter while they used their hatchet to fall trees and created hard shelter for themselves. This is the culture of the American marksman, and that's what we want to examine, right? So we're taking trips. 5 days ago, we were up in the Rockies with Rob Furlong from Rob Furlong's Marksmanship Academy. Rob is an amazing guy with an amazing story and a skill set that you just don't find. We choppered into the very peaks, had to stay there overnight until the chopper could come get us in the morning, and did nothing but just turn our rifles into artillery pieces 4,000 yards out into the valleys. Just lobbing rounds out there, see what we could do with it.
What altitude were you at?
So, you have two altitudes you got to always pay attention to. You have like your actual altitude, then your density altitude, right? So the altitude there is, I want to say, somewhere around 7,500 to 8,000 feet. So it's not too high. It's just enough for you to know that you should probably do more cardio when you try and move up and down the mountains. Yeah, I need more cardio. That's what I found out. But it's an amazing experience, unlike anything that you'll get elsewhere, and it's really a function of Rob. I've got to give Rob Furlong, Alstrom Air, those guys credit. This is something unique to them because they have all the right permitting, all the right capabilities logistically to drop you in up there, experience that. I'm not eloquent enough to convey what it's like to be up there. It's amazing.
That's beautiful.
That's amazing. So rewinding a bit.
Yeah.
Where'd you grow up?
Oh, I grew up in Virginia. So we've traced my family's been in Virginia. Since like the 1600s, and you're going to have to drag me out of there. I grew up in Bealton, Virginia. There's a trailer park out there, and my mom still lives there. And went to high school, rural Virginia. My family and I live 20 miles from that now. We bounced around a little bit before I got to about third grade, but from third grade on, it's all just been rural Virginia. We were a little bit privileged. I had a double wide. You know, didn't have they wasn't dealing with the single wides that some of the other guys were, but very different upbringing than what I've been able to provide my kids based on the opportunities that I've had, and I'm extremely blessed to be able to say that. I think that's what we all want, right? To provide for our kids more than what we had.
Yeah.
My mother carried me on her back while she was working. My stepfather that I grew up with literally worked until the day he died, right? And the opportunities that I've been able to take advantage of have allowed me to provide for my kids in ways that those same opportunities didn't present themselves to my parents, you know. But it's really my mom and I now. Still see her as often as I can. I travel a lot, but she hasn't left that same house. She won't, actually. She's just as stubborn as I am. She owns it. So she's like, no, I'm not leaving. I own this. This is mine. Well,
Are you still in Virginia to this day? Do you call Virginia home?
yes. Yeah, I do. Yeah. So we're near a place called Culpeper, Virginia. Ton of story behind Culpeper. In fact, I'm a huge, oh yeah. Culper, right?
Culper, yeah.
So I'm also a huge bourbon guy. So talk about history. You know Elijah Craig, the bourbon. So Elijah Craig was actually jailed in Culpeper, Virginia, at one point in time, and it's a fun story. Every time we do this little bourbon and barbecue thing, small town little get together, and Elijah Craig always comes out there. And they tell the story, and I just listen to it like a little toddler every time, just, you know, with my feet dangling off the chair. I'm 5'10".
That's like normal for me. That's just my everyday.
Feet are dangling right now.
Yeah, I grew up in North Carolina and went to school in Lynchburg, Virginia. So I spent a little bit of time in Virginia. That was before I went to the military. And so speaking of that, and speaking of going to the military, what motivated you to want to serve in the Army? Do you have a family tradition of military? Was it, I know that I think serving in the military is like the number one way in America to change your like socioeconomic status, right? As someone. So I know that was a big motivation for a lot of me and a lot of friends, but what was your motivations for serving in the military?
Well, I do have a family history of service, right? But it's all Navy. So I ended up Army. My grandparents were not happy about that. Like my grandfather, he was like a hard man, Master Chief, but in a very like technical discipline, like electronics, probably what would have been considered like the generation before signals intelligence. And my grandmother, her only rule was that I could go Air Force, I could go Navy, but I could not go Army or Marines. And that, don't tell me not to push the red button. But I was also a part of my high school's JROTC crew, and that was actually a really important kind of path to a lot of the veteran nonprofit work that I do now. So our high school was one of the few high schools in the nation that was certified to do veteran funerals, fold flags, play taps. I played trumpet in high school, so I used to play taps for veteran funerals.
I played trumpet in middle school.
Did you?
Sick. Shout out! Yeah.
It's I love it. My daughter, my oldest daughter, she's 13 now. She learned to play trumpet, played my trumpet for her school band. So the same one, it was such a piece of junk by then too. It was what my mom could afford. We had to do the rent to buy thing.
Yep.
And
I definitely had a pawn shop.
Oh yeah,
in high school.
I love that though.
It was a pawn shop trumpet, but I felt so bad for my baby girl because, it was really cool for me that she was going to play the same trumpet in school that I did. But like the keys would stick, so I had to get it like professionally serviced 2 or 3 times.
Freaking WD-40.
I tried rem oil. I tried gun oil the first time.
Stop blowing it out.
No, it was, music has always been kind of a side hobby of mine that I don't talk about much, but I thought that was going to be my career path. Like I have the Fender Diamond tattooed on my arm, actually. So I play a little bit of guitar.
That's like, Nick, you just perked up.
So I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge guitar player.
Are you?
Oh yeah.
And
did you bring a guitar?
I did not. Did you bring a guitar?
No.
Because we will kumbaya, bro.
You gotta show him your studio.
Yeah, I've got a studio and
I love it.
A wall of guitars, and I actually have led music at our church for like 10 years, and So yeah, it's I'm a big musician, man, big guitar guy. We've got a lot more to talk about.
The guy that taught me to play was actually his church's kind of lead musician there. So that was my first foray into, and I'd been, like I said, I've been playing music since, well, I don't know, 5th and a half grade. You know, they like throw you in about a half a year early before you get into middle school band. I ended up really doing well with trumpet. I took that all the way to like the Kennedy Center, got the chance to play for some cool people in Tuba Christmas. I don't know why I remember that, but I do. But that transitioned to kind of adulthood, and I moved over to playing rhythm guitar. Mostly acoustic stuff. I will say that it's been few and far between the chances that I've been able to get behind a guitar. Most of my hobbies nowadays have turned into my work, which is American Marksman,
marksmanship, 530, and shooting. Yeah.
I pulled the guitar out just the other night. Sat down and kind of, my wife just ended up following me around. As soon as I pulled it out, she just, kind of hooked onto me and played some of the old songs we used to play in front of people, and it felt really nice. My little baby girl, I have a little, 1.5-year-old now. So I have a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and then a 1.5-year-old. That was the first time she'd ever seen Dad play the guitar, and I was like, I got to pick this thing back up.
Oh,
That's awesome.
Love that.
Yeah, I always feel we went on a rabbit hole from playing taps and going to the military to music, but like, I that resonates with me. I have a 9-year-old and 10-year-old daughter. Mm. I've got a baby boy on the way. First time I've said that on air. So
congratulations.
Very exciting. But yeah, my youngest daughter, Catherine, she's 9 years old, and I'll pick up the guitar, and she's just got her own little personality. She's so sassy. She's like out, doesn't care about anything. But then as soon as I pick up the guitar, she'll sit down and she's like, "Dad, you're such a good guitar player." And I play guitar, and you feel pride. You're like,
something about that second born, because what you're describing is my my middle daughter now, right? My firstborn, that she is Attila the Hun. She is Genghis Khan. She's a go-getter, gonna go just seize anything that she wants. My second daughter is Satan's spawn, right? until
I like to joke, like my second daughter's possessed with something.
Yeah, something
it is, but like
I don't know. I need to make a phone call to the church and say, "Hey, can you guys come take a look at this? This is I don't know where she got that from." And then my wife kind of gives me a side eye, and I'm like, "Okay, well, I get it." But no, my music is something that we all my whole family. My grandmother still sings for her church choir. It's a big part of us, and it's actually, talking about things on air, it's really not something I've ever talked about before. Every so often there's certain things that I kind of, those are for me. You know what I mean? Like I've been asked to play before in front, and that's for me.
We'll sit down and play.
I'll play with you.
Soon.
We'll turn the cameras off
soon. Yeah, won't be on air. We'll do it.
I'm into it.
So playing trumpet, playing taps.
Oh yeah.
Kind of, we were talking about what led you, what motivated you to the military, but yeah,
what actually got me into a ton of trouble. So in JROTC, most people should be familiar with it. They're the dorky kids walking around with all their stupid medals jingling for doing dumb stuff like selling cookies, right? It's Boy Scouts on steroids. But it got me in a lot of trouble in basic. It did, because I knew more. I knew how to march. I knew what the position of attention was, what the parade rest was. I knew how to rappel because I was a part of my high school's ranger team. Make my own Swiss seat.
You went to such a cool high school.
My high school was awesome, man. More people should go to rural high schools.
Rural high schools was it was
no.
But I'll never forget. Like, we go to the rappelling day in basic, and the drill sergeant's going around with everybody on how to make your Swiss seat, and I just threw mine on and I was done. And that drill sergeant, I'll never forget, he looked at me, came up to me, kind of checked it for a second. He's like, "Okay, you're gonna go first." He was gonna let me and he did let me just make my Swiss seat, and if it failed, he was gonna let me fail, right? But it got me into trouble in that way. And it wasn't that I was just so ready to do it for real, because you spend 4 years kind of LARPing, in JROTC, and then you get there to basic training, and they're teaching you all the fundamentals, right? And those fundamentals are the only things that you can do. The only thing you can't do in JROTC is shoot. But that's where the marksmanship team came in. I was part of that too. So yeah, it was an Army JROTC program. That's what solidified me as wanting to be part of the United States Army.
So
it's amazing.
What year? Actually, our good friend and producer Alyssa over here was a ROTC stud in college, but that's a cool story. But what year did you graduate, and did you go directly into the Army after you graduated?
I did, yeah. I graduated in 2007. Came into the Army that year. Well, I had signed my paperwork in 2006 actually, but I was 17. What was it? October 16th of 2006 is technically like the origin story of my military career. And I know this is like very veteran focused, but my career has been entirely reserve. I'm a reserve intel weenie. So there are a lot of things that I've been given an opportunity to do as a part of the military that are atypical for a guy in my reservists one, and then for an intel guy the other. Like I went to a foreign and non-standard armorers course as an intel guy, so I'm technically certified to be an armorer for like the MP5, for the G3, for the AK, RPK. Wow. All of these, there's a whole story behind that. I have just kind of been presented these opportunities that were I to have shied away from them, I don't know that all of the dominoes would have fell to be where I am now, right? And it's kind of one of my biggest messages is, hey, every so often there's going to be something that kind of lands in front of you that's going to seem like a massive risk, right? But you have to grab that and ride it. Like you have to take, what's the saying? Grab the bull by the horns or whatever. Yeah. Just take advantage of it. Take the risk, right? Especially if it's something that leads you down a path to doing what you want to do, which is exactly where I am today. That's awesome. Can you go over some of the, last night we had an opportunity to talk about some of those uncommon things that a lot of reservists, a lot of intel folks don't get a chance to do, and being attached to SF, and can you kind of go over some highlights of some interesting things you've been able to accomplish and achieve and experience in the military? Yeah, for sure. So I've got 2 deployments. Both were relatively short deployments. I was blessed with in a relative sense, good hard stand buildings, stuff like that. Some of the organizations that I got a chance to support, though, the way I try and explain it to people is, I'm nobody, right? I went and I did my job, but I did get the chance to serve alongside giants. And these are the people that are really taking it upon themselves to take the fight to the enemy. I'll put it that way. So my first deployment, I actually was assigned as a driver and as a crew serve gunner. We were supposed to have MRAPs, and it was an MOS immaterial, so not job specific role, more or less just operations. Where was that deployment to? That was to Afghanistan. Both of my deployments were to Afghanistan, both in the east there. Part of our team in that first deployment was also pushed out west to like Herat. We had a team in Kandahar. We had a team up north in Mazar-e Sharif. But I was at the headquarters element there at Camp Eggers, right in the middle of Kabul. And we were supposed to drive around in MRAPs, but when we got there, they were like, hey, sorry, we have these Toyota Land Cruisers that you're going to drive around. And it was stick shift. And I think culture shock of, who didn't grow up learning some basic skills hit me then. There were only like 5 or 6 of us that knew how to drive a stick, and making things worse, they were loaded down with like 2,000 pounds worth of armor plating. I'll tell you about that in a second. With stock clutches. So anybody that knows how to drive a stick, all that extra weight, it was nothing but burnt clutches the whole way. Because if you've driven in Kabul, there are plenty of places where it's the most nightmare traffic you've ever seen. And we are not incognito. We've got our electronic countermeasure Duke system sticking out of the top of this thing, like just this big phallic tower sticking out of the top of these trucks. It's like, we're not hiding. Right. We might as well be walking around wearing a banana hammock. Like paint this thing yellow, man. Yep. So the story I like to help tell people is there are most certainly areas you had some buddies of mine were up in like the mountains in the east out there, and it was just absolutely horrible conditions. The guys that we replaced, or that we came in right after, they were Task Force Guam. So Task Force Guam was out there doing personal security detail stuff for the Aussies. They ended up, one day they went out on one of their normal routes, and they called up. They were like, hey, there's, it's like rush hour and there's no traffic anywhere. They called that up over the radio, and everybody was like, yeah, just get there, let us know that you're safe, and, everything should be good. Well, there was no traffic on the road because all of the locals had been warned that there was a 2,000 pound, I don't recall exactly which, is a Googleable incident, VBID, vehicle-borne IED, that was going to smash into their convoy. It disintegrated those NTVs, non-tactical vehicles. So when I say up armor plating, this is most certainly not your Buffaloes, your MRAPs, stuff like that. This is like stuff that they duct tape on the side of it just to be able to say, hey, they were in an armored vehicle, right? So that was the first deployment, 2013. We were a DECOM SPO with the 55th Sustainment Brigade. That was my first unit that I was with. Lots of missions. I screwed up so many times on that as a young guy. Like, I left the gas cap unlocked on our truck, and the Afghans siphoned our gas out of our truck. I got into so much trouble for that, dude. So much trouble. And they kept me off. They kept me off missions for like 2 weeks. After that, anyway, nothing's perfect. But then my second deployment. So from 2013 to 2016, all through this time as a reservist, my military career was kind of running parallel to my civilian career. So I actually dropped in with an organization as a civilian called JTF-GNO, Joint Task Force Global Network Operations, when I was 21. Got an entry-level gig on a contract supporting a government organization, basically. Well, what I didn't know is that organization was going to combine with another to create United States Cyber Command. So all while my military career is progressing, my civilian career is progressing at an even faster rate. So I'm a plank holder at United States Cyber Command. We were co-located with NSA. Cybersecurity, I was actually a part of the China operations planning team. So everything from defensive to offensive type stuff, just doing our best to stay ahead of the curve in cyber. Flipping back to the military side, a buddy of mine got attached to a unit called the First Information Operations Command, and he was like, hey, we're doing some pretty cool stuff, and he was going to deploy soon, and they needed a fifth man to train. So the first IO deploys as 4-man teams in information operations. Information operations is essentially it works in the cognitive space. So if you, as a commander, you want your enemy to go left, that way they fall right into your ambush, what you might do is some tactical deception to get them to do that. Those are the types of things that we plan for as information operators, or more strategic things, right? How do I get this populace to stop shooting at my airfields? Those are the problems that IO solves, or at least attempts to. It can be difficult to measure. So I joined their team as a part of the 5-man crew just to train. And the pipeline for this pre-deployment, at this time, we still didn't know who our customer was going to be. Like, who was it that we were going to attach to? The pipeline's like 2 years long. I ended up going all the way out to Coronado to train at the Buds compound. I went to Hurlburt to train with Air Force SOF. I did a bunch of JSOC courses, Joint Special Operations University. And again, this is not what I joined the Army to do. I'm not complaining about it because it's some of the best training I've ever received in my life. But through that training pipeline, one of those team members, and the team is a total of 4, like I said, you have typically a major, a captain, an E7, and a contractor, right? Well, the captain, unfortunately, at one point in time, wasn't able to go on the deployment for a multitude of reasons. And the task force, our customer, this is about when we learned who our customer was going to be. They were like, just throw him in there. It's going to be it. So the E5...
It's like right place, right time.
E5 Ronnie gets dropped into this captain's billet. It's actually an 04 on the OML as an information operations chief with the task force. And this is the only counterterror joint task force in country at the time. And for those that know what the CTJTF is, this is quite literally the most tip of the spear, right? Again, not even really supposed to be there, just happened to do my job and do it well to the point to where, you know, SOF was comfortable with me taking over a major's billet. And I ended up deployed with what is effectively Ranger. We kind of offset with them that way. I believe we were there with either 2 and 3 or 1 and 2. That's really transparent to us because it's not supposed to matter, right? For us, we're there as enablers. We're there as to really make their job easier in find, fix, finish, however we can support them across the targeting cycle. We are typically the best with find and fix. So our PSYOP brethren under IO would drop leaflets to get people to call in. My counterpart, the contractor, at one point in time, we were dealing heavily with the Islamic State in the Khorasan province, ISK, Nangarhar. Well, we got some intel that their prominent leaders were like hiding in women's clothing amongst the populace. So what my counterpart did is he was like, okay. And we had mugshot photos of these guys. So he opened up Photoshop and he put these prominent ISIS leaders photoshopped onto like traditional Afghan women's garb. And we dropped a leaflet over top of like a bunch of towns, like hundreds of thousands of these leaflets that said, hey, you let these, you know, people walk around in your women's clothing, amongst your women, disrespecting your women. And the idea behind that was to get them talking to each other and mad. They were pretty mad about that.
I would say it worked.
That's one of the easier ones to measure, to do MOE, measures of effectiveness on. So that deployment is one that I hold in really high regard as an opportunity that I took advantage of. Really not something that, as an Army Reserve intel guy, the dominoes that would have to fall in order for that to happen are very, very rare, right? Now, there are things that once I saw where that light was, then I start positioning myself for it, right? So, you know, when you take these opportunities, there's going to be kind of forks in the road. And you can guide. It's like a choose your own adventure story, right? Now, I could have just kind of said, you know, no, I got kids, I got a wife now. I got, by that time I was a task order manager. I had 25, 30 some odd employees reporting to me. I could have just gone back to that. You know, I was making amazing money, especially for, what would that have been? A 26-year-old, you know, having 30 employees, running a cybersecurity operations center, doing digital forensics, catching child predators. Like, it was amazing work that I was doing, but this was an opportunity that I needed to take advantage of, that I needed to grab and I wouldn't say do for myself, but it wasn't going to come easy to my military role. And it's one of the most defining moments of my career, to be honest.
That's how so? Like how did that define your future?
Well, I would say, and I kind of alluded to this at times, right? So my military career was kind of on autopilot because my civilian career, I mean, I'll walk you through that. That'll be really helpful. 21 years old, I get dropped in. Every Tuesday morning, we were briefing the 4-star. Oh my God. We were briefing a 4-star general. His name is Keith Alexander, right? General Keith Alexander was one of the smartest people I'd ever met. Well, around about 2012, we took on an operation, actually the same organization, really, that I ended up supporting later in my career, took on an operation to kill or capture Osama bin Laden, right? Zero Dark 30. Everybody knows the story.
Yeah.
Well, one of our functions was to really take a look around the internet and see what like terrorist web forums were saying. You know, we want to know what their reaction is. So as a part of the J2 Intel Watch at U.S. Cyber Command, my role was to brief what we had found. So I go through about a 30-minute briefing. I would have been 22 at the time. And all the time I'm saying, yes, sir. On this forum, they are revering Obama. They are absolutely upset that we killed Obama, that you know, they are painting portraits of Obama.
Osama or Obama?
So the entire briefing to this 4-star general, I said Obama.
Oh God.
Oh,
And everybody in the room let me do it. There's the 4-star in there, but then you also have like 2 stars. You have 1 star. You have colonels, iron majors. None of them corrected me, and I'll never forget afterwards. One of the generals walks up and he's like, "I'm going to start calling you the intel guy. That was a fantastic briefing, but I want you to know that President Obama is safe and sound." And I didn't get it. Because for those that have spoken, especially in a military briefing, sometimes you just kind of revert to military style and you go through your stuff and you almost kind of black out at times. Like, I don't even know what I said. Well, he was like, "President Obama is safe and sound." And I went to my JOC leader and I was like, "What? That's what he just said to me. What does that mean?" And he's like, "Bro, you said that we shot Obama." So the whole briefing there, it was all Obama. I'll never forget it. But I went from there and I was a part of a cyber counterintelligence unit at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. I was a liaison with the agency, with the CIA for a little bit. I went from there into very much more cybersecurity rather than cyber threat intelligence. So the difference being cyber threat intelligence and cyber counterintelligence, understanding what our foreign intelligence entities are doing to target us, our nation, our networks, our people. I chose to kind of separate from that and go down the just cybersecurity path. So I had a CISSP, certified ethical hacker, all your normal certifications for that, and ended up under the DHS umbrella. I led the DHS Cybersecurity Operations Center contract for a year or so, then also led a subcomponents contract all the way up until 2024. I was still consulting in cybersecurity. So at one point in time, it was some of my portfolio and programs were valued at like $87 million worth of contracts.
Wow.
And I had 60 plus employees with me. So when I say like it was a defining experience for me, my military career was really on autopilot. I just kind of put the uniform on, went and did my job. FOIA requested. I don't have any negative NCOERs. I'm nobody, right? Like I don't have any major stories of valor and what's that word, intrepidity to share. I was just doing my job for it all. But then getting the chance to serve with that unit, with that organization. I mean, they put me on missions with the Australian SASR. Those guys were amazing. I got to do some work with that SEAL organization. I got to do work alongside Ranger as kind of my primary customer there, supporting hostage rescue missions and supporting, these major operations at the tail end of what would that Operation Freedom Sentinel, I want to say it is, that we were only there, frankly, to kill people. Like just to be honest about it, like this was not hearts and minds time anymore. This was, hey, get that guy to talk on his radio, IO guy, because I want to drop a hellfire on his forehead. That's what the mission was at that point. And that was so much different from like this other path that I was taking, right? Talk about those opportunities. I was just like a guy in the reserves, in the intel reserves, and I was a cybersecurity guy. And then, the culture shock of being introduced to that environment just kind of changed my mindset, right? So I talk about the differences between confidence and arrogance. And a lot of your direct action guys will talk about this in different ways, but as kind of a guy that with Funker 530, I study war. That's what I do, history, modern war and conflict. There is a necessary tickle of that line between confidence and arrogance that direct action guys have to have, right? You have to get all the way up to the point to where if you take one more step, you're going to do something stupid and you're either going to get yourself killed or a team member killed. But playing with that line between confidence and arrogance, in my opinion, is where excellence comes, because
that's good.
That's when you go from being confident in your skills to just doing a little bit too much, right? You push through a doorway a little bit too fast and your team can't keep up with you. But when you're confident in what you're doing and it has a basis in skills, experience, training, that confidence, that violence of action, these are the things that we study, and the things that we cover on Funker 530 is contextualizing that mindset for people, right? It introduced me to an entirely different military and an entirely different mindset. Before that deployment, I was obese. I was 270 pounds. I was a fat piece of poop, right? I don't know what your left and right boundaries are, bro.
Unfiltered.
I was a piece of shit, right? I was a fat piece of shit. I had bad leaders, and I'll tell you what that means really quick. So I had bad leaders that flubbed paperwork on my height and weight that allowed me to deploy on my first deployment. And 270 pounds on a 5'10" frame does not look good, right? That's not the right kind of 270 pounds. In the train up to getting the chance to deploy with this unit, it was, hey, your aptitude for information operations is fantastic, but if we have to, for whatever reason, take you on target, you are a liability, right? You need to be ready to support us. Yes, you are not a shooter. You're not here as a shooter, but you're going to need to if for whatever reason we have to do that. So it shifted my mindset to one that I needed to be better today than I was yesterday. And it's got nothing to do with how good you are, right? My measurement is me yesterday. And once, that seems cliche to say, and a ton of people say stuff like that, but that alone I can attribute back to that organization in supporting that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I am a huge history guy. I mean, I grew up in a time when the History Channel was still like the World War II channel, right? Mm-hmm. And true history shows.
Grew up on the Army, dude.
Yes. And mail call.
Yeah. Mail call.
Yeah. But I love history. I actually, when I got out of the military, used the GI Bill, got my history degree, and was one of I think 10% of history students to actually be able to use that and be in history. And I taught our next generation military and naval history for 6 years. And so that's where I became familiar with your content.
Yep.
And Funker and what you were doing there. So being a part of the reserves, it allowed you to start to grow during that time, this massive military and veteran community.
Yep.
And be putting out this amazing historical content. Talk to us a little bit about when that happened, in your military career and journey in the reserves, when did you start making content? Have you always been a history buff, right? So when did that come about? How did you start to grow that? And how did you know that was a direction that you wanted to start to go into?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's actually kind of a fun story. So I'm the VP over at Funker 530, right? So what I do is I host for us any forward-facing content and stuff. And the only reason I drew the short straw on that as a team, because I'm just one small part of a larger team over there of veterans that are doing our best to archive history so that people can better understand sacrifice, better understand war, and what war started as, or at least as early as we can find video of it, and what it's evolving into. That way, maybe sometime in the future, we can start making decisions on it a little bit better and stop just rooting for it.
Right.
War is necessary. It is something we need to stop acting like we can get around not having. It will always happen. It always has happened. But what we can do is we can choose when we action that. We can make better decisions on that for the right reasons. So my content story is super weird. I had just gotten back from that second deployment with JSOC, and a buddy of mine played video games on computer. I never did. I had a PC as a kid, and I played the Oregon Trail, and died of dysentery way too many times.
That was a great, such a.
I mean,
game.
I'm. So I turn. It's whenever you're watching this, it's 2025. I'm about to turn 40. I mean, for me, it was like Minesweeper, and that was the PC I had. No internet access, dial up, unless somebody was on the phone.
Yeah, I didn't mean to date us by saying that, but the day in PC class that we were going to do the Oregon Trail, that was the day, man. And all I would do, it's so ironic. All I would do is stop my convoy and go hunt. The whole time I just wanted to shoot stuff, and it was a murderous rampage on all these rabbits that would, like the little blinky rabbits that would go, and I would just smoke those damn things the whole time, but I wouldn't pay attention to the other stuff, so I'd always just die. You know? Maybe that's what's going to happen. One of these days I'm going to be on the top of one of these mountains, hanging off the side of it, hanging targets, and I'm just going to die. But that's the way it'll go.
Go out with your boots on, man.
So yeah, around about 2018, 2019, I ended up getting myself like a gaming laptop to play PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, right? Sick game. Loved every minute of it. Ended up getting hooked up with a bunch of other guys, some veterans that were starting a gaming organization. I think they're still doing it, Elusive Gaming. And they were competitive gamers. Like these dudes, I mean, these are like Marines. These are, infantry guys that are just getting after it on first-person shooters, and started to immerse myself in a little bit of gaming culture and stuff. And I decided, I got reached out to by an organization that was doing, gaming charity for veterans. And they were like, hey, would you be interested in filling a 6-hour time slot, 6 hours for, to raise money for veterans? And I was like, let me clarify. I'm going to play video games and people are going to give me money for charity. Like, people are going to donate to charity because I'm playing video games.
So this was like live streaming?
I didn't even know what Twitch was, dude. I had to create a Twitch account for this. And
it's like 6 hours, dude. That's like a telethon, dude.
Dog, I did it on a laptop with like one monitor, and my wife sat next to me in my basement of my first house that we owned together, and I made $17 for this veteran charity organization. And I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. So not long after that, I started my own stream. That ended up getting me some placement at the military gaming league. So I started getting pretty good. A buddy of mine and I, Brent, he goes by Sicko, that's his handle. We competed in the PUBG tournament for all of like the U.S. military. So there were U.S. Army teams, Marine teams, Air Force teams, and we took first place and got a free ride to Vegas.
That's awesome.
So on that free ride to Vegas, we had a celebrity team captain. Do you want to know who that was?
Who was it?
The man that founded Funker 530. So my celebrity team captain was Scott. Scott, now my partner on American Marksman, one of my closest friends, the guy that I work with every day, the guy that's probably just calling me a minute ago. And I'll never let him down or let this down. He forgot to bring in-ears. And I brought a bunch of extra pair. I have this habit of being overly prepared to the point to where I have too much stuff. So I had an extra pair of in-ears.
You were a Boy Scout, weren't you?
And he's done. Well, I was JROTC, man. I'll never let him forget it. He kept them. He never gave them back to me. So I always remind him, and he'll do it to this day. Like we had a sponsored shoot not too long ago, and he kept the hoodie they gave me. It's like, hey man, that's mine. But that's basically how I ended up getting introduced to Scott. And at one point in time, about a year and a half or so later, he was like, hey, will you come on and, work on the business back end with me? I was still doing my portfolio work, so I was used to having a P&L, just basically standard business stuff. I was still streaming. I had a really great stream going on, still do, with a community that supports me and supports my philanthropy efforts. He was like, would you consider starting to do some videos on Funker 530? In his design, Funker 530 had always been behind the scenes, right? Just uploads of raw footage. But that doesn't do a whole lot when it comes to contextualizing war. Like, that will show you war. But when it comes to what I do in the military, and I have the 30,000 foot view, I could take that video, place it in time and space for you with a 10-digit grid, show you where they're coming from, what that means as a part of the overall operation. It's a different perspective that I bring to that than others might, right? So I just started doing videos on the clips that we were finding. Well, History Channel found one of those. And I actually made that video as an argument to one of our other team members about pirate cannons, because during the Syrian Civil War, we got to see what's called the Hell Cannon. It's just this super dicked up tube that they launch propane canisters out of, basically. But it looked like a perfect cannon. And I did this video about how cannon and their history are now, we're returning to our history by seeing a pirate cannon being fired at a building. It's a beautiful video that you could see the canister fly in and just detonate. While I was arguing with Josh, because Josh said that all cannonballs blew up at the end, but that's not the case. No. So there was all different kinds of shot, right? Like you had spherical shot, like this round shot that was just a solid ball, and it was meant to just destroy fortifications. So all I was doing is just explaining the different types of cannon shot.
Or that one guy in The Patriot.
Yeah, there's an awesome photo of the Battle of Waterloo, right? So Napoleon and his crew versus Wellington, and there's one of Napoleon's cavalrymen. His breastplate is perfectly preserved with a cannon hole through it. It is one of the most disturbingly awesome things to see, because it just, well, I don't even really know how to put that. There's a hole in a man's breastplate. You can imagine. So I made that video, and I got an email from this guy. He was like, "Hey, I'm a producer for the History Channel. I'd love to talk with you about being an expert on one of our shows." And I was like, "What is this spam bullshit? And I'm not answering this." And I showed it to Scott. He was like, "Well, just email him back, see what happens. We get that shit all the time."
That's a dream call for me.
I was going to say, you probably thought it was just a joke.
I've literally had dreams where I'd be like, History Channel expert.
So it turns out it was legit, right? They wanted to do a show about. They wanted to bring history back to history. And I was like, guys, I'm way into this. And it was originally supposed to be just as an expert, as a guy that they brought in, on a panel that just said, yep, this is what's going on in this video. About 6 months goes past. I'd already interviewed to be an expert on this. And we have some awesome guys that were a part of it too. Chris Capilouto, so Cappy, Preston Stewart. These are guys that I love working alongside. Ethan, like just so many cool dudes, man. And I got a call back, and I was getting ready to take my wife on like our anniversary cruise. We never had a honeymoon. Like our honeymoon was like a Motel 8, dude. Like that was spendy. Well, like the next week I'm going on a cruise, and they're like, "Hey, we'd actually like you to be a host." And I was like, "What do you mean a host?" And they were like, "Yeah, but we need you to do a test with Rudy Reyes." And I was like, "Do you mean Rudy Reyes? Like
Generation Kill?"
Yes.
Rudy.
Generation Kill, Rudy Reyes, like I probably would. I'm not like if I had to give it a shot, it'd probably be Rudy. You know what I mean? That Rudy Reyes.
He'd be on your.
He's a beautiful man.
Listen, man, it's going to be like caviar, right? If I'm going to give it a shot, it's going to be, it's going to be the good stuff, So he was like, "Yeah, we need you to do I don't remember what they called it, like a screen test with him." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds awesome, but I'm going on a cruise." So I'm on this cruise, right? And I was already packed for it. I didn't bring any like nice clothes, but I'm on this cruise with like this retro rifle gun shirt and my hamburger meat hanging out. I'm all sunburnt, and I'm here with Rudy and the History Channel behind there, basically making sure there's some chemistry. It was a chemistry test. That's what it was. And the entire time we're talking about K-129, which is a Soviet submarine that got lost just to the northwest of Hawaii. It's one of the stories that we did on Mysteries. And the entire time I'm just arguing with Rudy about why this thing might have, I kind of forgot we were on like a call. Like it just turned into Rudy and I spitballing with each other. And apparently behind the scenes, they were loving it because that was like the chemistry that they wanted. And Rudy now is family to me. But that solidified it for me. It was once again, I could have said, "No, I'm going on this cruise with my family. I don't think that I'll be able to do that." And I took advantage of that opportunity. It aired just last year, actually, on History, Military Mysteries.
Military Mysteries.
Very, very proud of what we put together there. The stories, like we dive into the Lady Be Good and an airplane that was lost during World War II. They overshot their runway, basically flying dark. They ended up crash landing in the desert, wandered around the desert. There are journals that have been found since. Those are stories that people need to know, right? But also like assassinations and stuff, like what happens behind the scenes that barely gets any coverage. Those were the things that we wanted to cover there, and getting to be a part of the development of those, it was a dream come true, dude. It was a culture shock for me. I'm not used to like having to sit in one spot and people bring me waters and stuff. But man, again, one of those defining experiences for me. That gave me the bug to want to do productions. That gave me the bug that wanted to do American Marksman, that wanted to do, that wanted to tell stories to people, right? Because, I mean, that's what Intel guys do anyway, right? Is we tell stories. Hopefully they're accurate stories, right? Hopefully we have the right placement and access as an intelligence guy to be able to paint a story for command teams to make a decision off of. Well, that's what I'm trying to do now. That's what we want to do at Funker 530, right? Is we're trying to tell stories through the conveyance of this raw footage, right? 30 years from now, when somebody wants to see what trench warfare looks like in 2024, trench warfare, which would have been considered an antiquated defensive tactic, and its intersection with precision munitions, right? You have munitions that can shoot a nose hair from tens of kilometers, dozens of miles away, and you have people stuck in trenches still.
Yeah.
That is a different form of warfare. Drones transcend.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, I mean, you look at Ukraine right now. I mean, it's trench warfare, but you have drones flying overhead. I mean, it's completely different. Drones
transcend every other warfighting function. If you think about them from an ISR, an intelligence and surveillance perspective, we've been using drones for ISR for a while. So that was always something they did. But logistically, Ukrainians and Russians, they're using drones, UGVs, USVs, right? So the unmanned surface vehicles, they're using those to deliver supplies. So you've got logistics capabilities there. You've got fires, right? That's turned into an artillery piece. You can do counter battery with a drone now. So you got 777s that you would typically put in a line and like, okay, we were receiving fire from this way. Let's get the battery online. Let's take some shots at it, right? Well, you just find that artillery piece and you fly the drone into the barrel of the gun, into the barrel of the D-30 that the Russians are using, and you render that thing inoperable. So drones are an adaptation in war that we of the likes that we haven't seen before. And everybody talks about drones because you see the videos of like the guy running from it and he's like, oh shit, and there's a drone and it just crashes into him. But if you take it up like we try to do at Funker 530, especially on our live show, to the 30,000 foot level, what are the lessons that we should take from each one of these individual clips that you'll find on 530? And how can we apply those from a planning perspective? So talking about growth, I went on my annual training and somebody recognized me. This was like the organization that's developing drone curricula for the entirety of the DOD. They got with me and they were like, hey, can we get some footage? Can we get some material that we can build curricula off of to adapt how we train to drones? And I died to a drone in training. After watching all these drones killing people, that drone team killed me with one in training. It's not something you think you're just going to clap it out of the air with your shotgun. It's not easy.
Yeah. The when you're talking about military mysteries, Nicola and I have a good friend named Derek Abbey. And he is.
We got to introduce you to Derek.
When you were talking about that, he's here, and talking about that. But he is the first. He has got the most intriguing military history story. He's like Forrest Gump, where he's like done everything.
Oh, I'm already in. Yeah.
Without the tism, but like, but just everything that is interesting he's done. But he's now the CEO of a company called Project Recover.
Okay.
And we have a link to a documentary that they did that I want to share with you. But these guys go out and they do the historical research through like military and we're talking World War II, previous wars, Vietnam. A lot of their expeditions are to the Pacific Theater.
Yeah.
So Palau, Guadalcanal, the island chains, and there's over 81,000 MIAs still listed, which is something that people don't know that. It's crazy. But over 81,000 listed MIAs from previous wars. And so they will, from start to finish, they have historians on board that do the research on, these dogfights that happened over the Pacific Theater. And from like local islander perspective, like I remember there was a dogfight, and then they go out and they do archaeological digs, dives. Yeah. They're in the jungle. They're doing deep water dives. They identify crash sites. They find remains and identify those through DNA testing, and then they either do an honored burial at sea, or they repatriate. And I think they've repatriated over 30 MIAs back to their families in the States. But it's everything from like the history, the archaeological aspect, the dives. I want to introduce you guys so much because it's.
Well, I'm gonna have to hold you to that, because like I can't even imagine what the amount of energy that goes into to just do all of that amount of research. Because I mean, it's what are you poking through there? You're poking through just miles and miles of ocean.
Yep.
Oh,
right.
It's incredible. He said they've done about 300, and then this month they're doing one now that it took many months of research and everything, but they're bringing it back, and the families. And then what's amazing is then they notify these families, and sometimes these families have no idea that behind the scenes they're doing this research and trying to find. And then sometimes some of these families do know, and they've been just wanting answers and everything. And it's just so moving, like hearing him talk about it, just doing these ceremonies, especially the ones that don't know. I mean, obviously the ones that know.
Because DOD regulation is that they are, because it's completely different from a KIA situation where the family's immediately notified. Like these families are in limbo, right?
Like some of them have no idea that this is going on behind the scenes, and some of them have been searching for years and just have had no closure, no answers. It's super powerful. You need to meet him.
Yeah, I want to.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
So his name is Derek Abbey, and he's a stud.
Project Recover.
Project Recover.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll introduce you guys. Maybe you guys can collaborate and do some work. But just the historical aspect of that, and then the expeditions that they're going on, and all the way to completion of honored burials at national cemeteries of these MIAs that have been lost for 80 years, 80 plus years.
Oh, I'm just totally vested. I know we're on a podcast. I'm supposed to talk, but I'm just like, no.
I mean, and
I'm just diving in right now.
I was just thinking like the with your platform and with what he's doing, and
that's the beauty of what we're doing is also just connecting people, hearing your story and other stories. And
I've met some of the most amazing people out there. I mean, you guys first and foremost have just been super accommodating to me, and just seem genuinely interested in connecting people that are trying to put something back into the world, and just amazing group of people here at MIC. Like this has been an awesome experience.
Yeah, we love MIC. We love the MIC team. But so what, with all of the, with Funker 530, with the History Channel work, with the Marksman, so you have built an enormous military and veteran community around your content and around what you guys are putting together. What are some of the things that, and I know that you're still technically active, coming to your career is coming to an end soon. But what are some of the things that you guys do specifically with the veteran community?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. So, I mean, when you talk about you've built, I'm a small part of the Funker 530 team, and I would be remiss without talking about the dudes that are doing that. Scott, again, the founder of Funker 530, he's a Canadian infantryman, was a machine gunner, and he really just wanted to share his deployment with his family. So he just created a random YouTube account. And it turns out that people really wanted to see what our generation was dealing with in the global war on terror. And YouTube did its thing, just skyrocketed. Fast forward to now, and we've got guys like Will, a Purple Heart recipient, Mortarman, He spent all of his time just hucking around all of that shit up in the mountains in eastern Afghanistan. Josh, 0331 Marine, published author now. He's working on another book. One of some of the best writing I've ever seen Josh do was the fall of Kabul at Abbey Gate there. During that first deployment, I have traversed Abbey Gate hundreds of times, right? So, but some of the best
we're doing an episode with Tyler this evening.
Absolutely. Tyler has become one of my very, very good friends over the course of the last few years here. He and I actually live like 20 minutes from each other and didn't even know that. So Josh, again, machine gunner, and he likes to play the machine gunner part. He's like big dumb ape. And he's one of the most brilliant writers that I've ever had a chance to read his work. Then we've got guys like Cam. Cam, there's an iconic photo of a Marine dropping a hand grenade down a stairwell, right? And you just see the hand grenade falling out of his hand. That's actually one of Cam's Marines, right? There's a just as iconic photo of a Marine looking up a stairwell with a PPSH, right? Definitely an old Soviet, gun. That's also one of Cam's Marines. So 2004 Marine, early GWAT. We even have a space cop. We have one of our guys is Air Force. He is federal police for, I don't know if it's federal or contract, but anyway, he's a cop for NASA. And so we call him Space Cop. And I think I'm really upset that that's not a career path I chose, because I'd like that on my resume. We've got guys supporting us from some of my other organizations, the National Association for Gun Rights. They send their videography teams with us. The team of people behind the scenes at Funker 530 is what has grown it, right? My role has really just been to bring us from out behind the curtain behind Funker 530 and shed some light on the humans that are trying to do something that might not be apparent at face value, right? It might not be apparent what Funker 530's mission is supposed to be, but we are an archive of war for historical purposes. We are not a news team. Like, yes, by function of trying to catalog things as they happen in the world, you can probably derive a little bit of what's happening. And, we'll notify you on our app. Like, hey, we got a breaking video. This just happened in, I don't know, Lebanon. Tons of shit happening in Lebanon right now. But we're there as a historical archive, right? And I am just such a small part of this, because without Josh, without Will, without Scott, without Cam, and none of this is possible, right? So we've supported, a multitude of charitable causes, right? Everything from the Recon Sniper Foundation to Homes for Our Troops, right? And the chances that we get to do that are really what makes it for me. That gaming stream I talked about is still a charity stream. We've raised over $80,000 just individually, my small little gaming community, $80,000 worth of custom built PCs for veterans. Like, I was building these PCs myself and shipping them off to veterans. I ended up tying into a veteran charity to essentially handle the application process for that, because there were so many people that just wanted an opportunity to kick back and game after service, right? I'll tell you one story. I won't share her name, but we'll call her Tiffany, right? She had applied for what we call the Fit PC. So my gaming moniker is Ronnie Fit. It goes back to like me having to get fit for that deployment, being obese, kind of bettering myself. Anyway, we call it the Fit PC. And she had applied for it because she wanted to go into nursing. And she didn't have a PC. She didn't care to game all that much. She needed something that powerful to work on. Nursing school is arduous, right?
Yeah, God bless her.
And her story is that she and her husband had just gone off of a deployment and lost the battle with himself, and it ended up being an attempted murder-suicide. And she survived.
Wow. And
she changed her career path to want to go into nursing, but with like a focus on mental health so that she could help people in the future. And we were able, our small little community was able to raise enough money to get her not just the PC, but all of the work peripherals that she would need for that, like a table to set it on, and getting the chance to actually, it's great to just like donate cash. Like, I mean, just donate money. Every little bit counts. Every little bit helps. But being able to see the physical item that is going to afford this individual this opportunity to shift after overcoming their own trauma themselves and support others in getting through their trauma. That was like a moment for me of clarity that I will never stop doing my small little gaming stream. I will never stop finding ways wherever I can, whether big, small, or otherwise, to give back. Because again, I've been blessed with opportunities, right? That give me the ability to I mean, I don't have a lot of money, but it gives me the ability to rally people, right? And that's what's cool, is when it's time to rally on a cause or for something that somebody needs, that's where Funker 530's community steps in. Now, they'll hold you accountable if it's a bullshit cause and, you know, you got all these random GoFundMes getting stood up for you know, people that probably aren't deserving of them.
Yeah.
They'll call it out. And that's what I love about it. It's accountability, but it's accountability with a purpose of ensuring that the right people are lifted up when they need to be lifted up. And the team that I'm with there, the community that we've put together there, the community that I've had a chance to cultivate under all my personal brand being kind of brought together to do just whatever we can, right? There's no one thing. It's just, hey, can we do that today? Yeah, we can. Let's get after it. You know, let's do what we can there. That it's a life that I couldn't imagine not doing anymore.
How can the veteran and military community get involved with what you're doing and support you?
Well, I mean, the easiest way to really support us is just stay in touch with what's happening in the globe. Right. So there's an effort for us to get kind of tunnel visioned on what Fox News is telling us, what CNN is telling us, what's going on over here from this social media guy. The reason that we have a 100% veteran team at Funker 530 is we're not here to sugarcoat stuff for you. We're here to tell you just contextually what's going on in the world. Right. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is entirely your prerogative. Right. How you take away what the context is that we give you for any one of these individual videos, entirely up to you. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to give you information. So getting involved first and foremost in just staying in tune, leverage the platform, leverage the stuff that we're putting out, because it's showing you in real time what war is changing into, right? And then you might tell your buddy at the water cooler, your buddy at the water cooler might tell, you know, his buddy, and then it gets to a congressman, and then it gets to somebody in the cabinet, and they start to leverage the platform for what it's for, which is the lessons from war, so that we can make better decisions on it. So I would say, you know, just get involved, right? Understand what's happening in the world, not just what, I don't know, some dude talking on camera told you to do on TikTok or Instagram. No, go look at the raw footage. Go look at the raw footage coming from the mouth of, you know, a Purple Heart recipient mortarman telling you that, hey, Hamas using that mortar with sandbags as a base plate is actually going to ruin any possible understanding of where exactly that round's going to fall, because there's no base plate on it. So each time the round fires, Will is telling you, hey, he has no idea where that round is going to land. He might be firing it in a general direction that way, but it could fall short, and it could fall short and hit, I don't know, a market or something, right? That context, that unless you're a mortarman, you're not going to have that, right? And that's what makes it so much different for us, rather than just somebody that's posting stuff up like, hey, look, here's a mortar firing. No, take it a layer deeper. What does that mean, right? What are the potential issues that come along with that from people that have done that? And then when it comes to, you know, I mean, very selfishly, just swing by the gaming stream, man. All we do is raise money for charity, dude. We play community squad every once in a while. Like we'll all just get into like a big gaggle, big posse, and run around and bully people. Like the community's all veterans, you know, so sometimes we'll get way too into it, you know, like get on comms the right way. It's fun.
My younger brother's going to love this. I'm going to get him involved in that. Like I've never,
that's so cool.
I feel like I like gaming, but like my gaming like peaked with like PlayStation 1 Metal Gear Solid. Like that was about that, you know. But but my brother's like huge with like you mentioned PUBG.
Oh yeah,
and like you know, and he's phenomenal at that.
Well, you got to balance it. I think so many people are just falling into this into gaming being the only thing that they have to do to socialize, and everything has to be a balance, right? Yeah. So you've got like American Marksman. We're out in the wild. We're sleeping overnight on the top of mountains. Gaming is where I get to come back, decompress from all that.
Yeah.
But you have to balance it, right? Yeah. Because the world in your pocket is not the real world, right? So you're doom scrolling Twitter, you're doom scrolling Instagram. You know, I cover war for a living, right? So I have to separate myself, because if I end up normalizing war, then I'm no longer doing what I'm supposed to be doing at Funker 530, which is keeping it from being normalized. I call you know, the folks on Twitter and Instagram, you know, my pocket friends, right? Hey guys, you know, I'm here for a bit, but I'm going to separate now, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to be with my family. I'm going to be with my friends. I'm going to go do things to enjoy the world around me rather than be destroyed by the world in my pocket.
Yeah. One of the big things, so Operation Onward is, you know, Nickel and I had a vision to build this veteran community around the fact, and shine a big spotlight on the fact that, you know, the transition out of the military is such a traumatic experience. No matter what a veteran's experience while he served or she served was, it always is a horribly traumatic experience transitioning out of the military. And so, and the resources are out there. There's always gatekeepers though, right?
Sure. It's probably what's kept me from trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. I mean, and you have your transition is coming up, right? After a full career in the military. But you know, we're building this community to spotlight and to shine a light on, like, hey, there's a problem here. There's an issue that our veterans are going through as they transition out of the military. The military does a great job at building the community while we're in, and then one day you get a piece of paperwork and it's like, see you later. So, and then there are amazing resources out there that we want to highlight, but you have a unique perspective in having such a large military and veteran following and community, and just kind of want to ask you that question. You know, why do you think that? And again, no matter what the service was, like, you could be a non-combat veteran and have spent, you know, 10 years in the military, and all of a sudden you transition out and you're going through this traumatic experience, and you're ripped away from what you love. But why do you feel that that's such a traumatic experience for the veteran community?
You know, it sounds cliche to say, but I really do firmly believe it's a community aspect, right? So the word community is a buzzword in circles like this, right? People just say community. It's all about the community. But quite honestly, there are people that I met 15 years ago in my military career that I could run into today, and it feels like I just saw them yesterday. There is something to that, right? There is something to me being able to call up Jake, who I deployed with on that second deployment. I haven't seen him in 6 or 7 years, but I would tell you that he's probably my best friend. I can call him up right now and talk to him as though, you know, we had never left one another. And when you end up in these situations where you're without that, where you're without that camaraderie, without that, you know, without your friend that you spent all that time with, just doing nothing but suffering together, right? And you come into these experiences in the real world where you're having to overcome challenges, but you don't have those people there with you to suffer with you. Then it feels like the world's kind of bearing down on your shoulders, regardless of what you did, right? So again, reserve intel guy, I've got my share of injuries. I wouldn't say my deployments were overly dangerous. It's you know, definitely still Task Force Guam, all those definitely still a dangerous area. But I mean, my injuries are non-combat related. I have a torn labrum right now. I have issues that tear me down every day. I get out of bed and I'm like, wow, I slept weird because I feel bad. Maybe I'm just getting old. Maybe I'm that guy. But when you're trying to tackle these problems every day and you don't have your battle buddy, right? I also think that is overused, but you know what I mean. You don't have that guy to suffer through that with you, that trauma bonding experience.
It's overused, but it's also there's no other way
to explain it.
There's no civilian equivalent
Right.
to having that person in the military. There's no civilian equivalent.
No, you and I didn't serve together, but I feel like there's things that I connect with you on in person being here that I can't do to like one of my defense contractor teammates. Right. Like, I don't want to meet that guy's family. I want to meet your kids. I want to play guitar with you.
Yeah.
Right. Like I want to do cool things with you because I'm able to share something at a lower level beyond just the uniform with people that served. And that's why, I hate the word, that's why community is so important, right? Is coming to things like the MIC, coming to, or finding a veteran community to be a part of, because even if you don't ever talk about anything in the military, there is an underlying connection that you'll have that won't even be a front of head connection. It's a subconscious thing. Like it's a draw. You know, we make fun of each other internally. There's folks out there look at me like Pogue. I love it. I'm into it because at the end of the day, regardless of what that person says to me, if they're out and some crackhead at a gas station gets a problem with them, don't worry, I got a gun, bro. I got you. You know, we make fun of each other. We poke on the Air Force. We poke on the sailors, right? For all their weirdo stuff. Bro, let me tell you something. One of the baddest ass videos I've ever seen is that Coast Guard dude banging on the top of that sub. And I've said this almost every podcast. I could watch that video every day and still not feel full. That is a gangster that does his job, that does it well, and is the attitude that we need to have across the Department of War. That is the attitude that the United States military needs to have. I don't want, yes, the military should be supporting my family, but I don't want the forward-facing accounts of the United States military talking about family values. I want them talking about lethality. I want them talking about how we will absolutely ruin your day if you choose to be an adversary of the United States. That's the attitude that I need my United States military to have. No matter what your job is, I don't care if you're a cook. I don't care if you are an infantryman or a reserve intel guy. Be confident in what you do, being careful not to err on the side of arrogance. Going back though, you got me going on that.
I love it.
Thinking about that just fires me up.
I'm fired up.
I love that video because it's everything that the United States military needs to be. Community. But that's what it is to me, right? Is no matter what you had to deal with, you're now without those people that even small challenges, those stacked tolerances that just build and build and build on you. You don't have people that have done that as well, or that you can bounce those things off of that are as close to you as those that were in the military were, because it's trauma bonding. Even the trauma of having to sleep outside, right? Like my kids, they don't have to sleep outside. I'm going to force them to, but I use them as an example because again, it's almost a double-edged sword. I've given for them more than I had and more than I had to deal with. So there is an element of, I wouldn't say affluence, but you know what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
They have everything that they need, right? There are people in the world that have not had to deal with some of those hardships. And when they experience regular challenge, their resilience is just not there. Our resilience is really through the people that are standing and serving next to us, right? Yes, as individuals, we have resiliency training. We are resilient as individuals, but our power and our strength comes from those that we were alongside. And when you remove yourself from that, when you take yourself out of that, like I'm getting out, I got my DD-214 blanket, I'm not doing it anymore. That's when you're going to find that overcoming some of the day's easiest challenges in a relative sense are going to be mountains for you to climb. And you're not going to be able to climb those the same way that you could when you were still in, because you separated yourself from your community, and you need to get back in with one.
That's good. That's powerful. I mean, our presenting sponsor is a company called ReMedical.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing company that's doing amazing things for the veteran community that have struggled with the bureaucracy of the VA for long enough. And, my personal story took me a decade of struggling with the VA and denials and CMP exams to finally get my rating. So they're doing amazing things. And if you're struggling with the VA, reach out to ReMedical. But aside from that, companies like ReMedical exist because there is a gap.
Mm-hmm.
Companies like ReMedical exist because there has been, and historically has been, a breakdown in the services and the opportunities that the veteran community should have and should be entitled to after they serve. What could the military and the VA do better for our veteran community to make that transition out of the military more sustainable?
Because we hear it all the time, every day, especially me, the amount of veterans that I, talk to. It's like, it's never, you mentioned it earlier about the, out process. It's like, it's not, there's so many great resources out there, but it's almost like it's just so much that they don't even know where to even begin to start. Right. It's just so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why there's so many that I'll talk to that are like, I know I should have done this, many years ago. And they're almost like apologizing to me. I'm like, no, don't apologize. It's fine. I understand.
I feel like you're attacking me.
Why? But it's true.
No,
they'll
that's
come
exactly
to me so just, tail between their legs. Like, I'm so sorry. I know I should have done this before. And it's like, first of all, you have nothing to apologize for. I'm just grateful that you're reaching out now, because there's never there's so many benefits and so many things available to vets, but I just think they also don't know truly what is out there, because and on the positive side, there's also so many great resources and positive things, but it's just so much information coming at you that you're just like,
it's information overload.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's not even a negative. It's not even a negative thing, but it's just like, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
For me, it's analysis paralysis, right?
Yeah.
So they have a saying in Intel, it's called analysis paralysis, where you just end up down so many different rabbit holes of information that you kind of forget what the hell it was you were doing in the first place.
Right.
I have never seen the VA, right? And I have a multitude of issues. I broke my right hand. It'll always perpetually be broken until I have it rebroken and reset. That was smashed in an MRAP turret. I have a torn labrum right now that I'm dealing with.
I want to take a minute and give a shout out to our presenting sponsor, ReMedical. They make stories like this possible, and they've helped over 85,000 veterans with their VA disability claims. If you're a veteran out there and you have any questions on your VA disability claim, need some guidance or just clarity on the benefits that are available to you, check out ReMedical in the description. Sign up for a free consultation today and understand what you're leaving on the table. Let's get back to the show. And that there are so many benefits out there that just always, there always feels like there's a gatekeeper to information. At least there's not it doesn't feel like there's a true or known resource hub, for everything, which is something that we would love to build, and something that I think have a vision of building on this platform. But the question that I had asked, and companies like ReMedical, our sponsor, some of the other benefits and resources that are available to the military community, they exist because there is a breakdown. They exist because the transition is so traumatic, and because we have to almost be forced back into a military community, and we have to be given another mission. From your perspective, like what could the military and the VA do better to prevent that? If companies like ReMedical, and Nickel and I both work for ReMedical, they're our presenting sponsor. But if companies like ReMedical didn't have to exist, it would be the best thing for the veteran community, because it would mean that that the transition is working, and that the VA is working, and that the military process is good. What, in your opinion, what's something that the military, the veteran community could do better for the veteran community?
Yeah, so I actually had the opportunity to meet the Secretary of the VA for the first time. I got a whole 10 minutes with him in his...
I'm very hopeful about Mr. Collins, by the way.
I invited him to a hunt. I invited him to a hunt.
But I also...
He is awesome.
But I'm also, in like a realism way, he's got a lot to accomplish in 4 years.
Yeah,
and
he does. It's a heavy task.
But what he
heavy
can do,
task.
But what he can do is exactly what he conveyed to me: is first fix the human problem, right? So that's where things start for me. That's where, in his words, he described a lot of the challenge that they deal with being process and human based, right? So many of the errors that end up leaving people astray without getting the coverage or without getting the services that they need are human issues. So I mean, you read about it all the time and across social media and the news. One of the things this administration is doing is they are pulling people out of jobs that they should not be in, right? Once upon a moon, I thought that the government was the best of us. I thought that they were supposed to be the people at the pinnacle of American society because they were the ones chosen by my government to be representatives of me in government for the services, those few that I do expect, because I prefer small government, but those few that I do expect, they are supposed to be the representatives of that. One of the reasons I no longer do defense contracting is I come to find out there are a lot of instances where that's just simply not the case.
Yeah, we
have
jaded,
a human problem. There's a human problem in government where they get complacent. And I'm telling you this after spending well over 13, 14 years in government working in these 3-letter agencies. There's a lot of great people that are really doing everything that they can to just serve, protect. I think that's what cops say, but you know kind of my point. There are people doing the job and doing it well. And then there are people that are riding federal employment for their pension.
Right.
Absolutely taking place. So when I had a chance to speak with the Secretary of the VA, the exact vibe that I got from him is, look, I own the fact that historically there have been some challenges. There have been problems, not just challenges, problems. And I own that. But let's stop talking about it and let's start making changes. So the things that I'm working on are human changes. He's the first cabinet member to ever talk about psychedelics in a cabinet meeting.
Which could be a game changer for the veteran
massive
community.
Game changer. You talk about psilocybin and the potentials that come along with that.
I mean, like ibogaine treatment.
Oh my God.
And yeah.
They're doing 12 different psychedelic studies now. Being the first cabinet member to be, and that shouldn't be radical. These are just things that we need to be evaluating. But being radical enough to be the first cabinet member ever to say that in a cabinet meeting, that's gangster. That's the kind of outside the box that we need the VA to get into. And I mentioned it earlier, dude. I have not seen the VA, and I'm coming up on my 20 years, right? I have a multitude of problems now that I would not have were I not to have served, right? They aren't necessarily combat-related injuries. They are service-related injuries, though. And there are a ton of people out there, just like me, that are like, well, I wasn't in combat, so I shouldn't worry about, the torn ligament I had, 10 years ago. No, that is related to your service, and that's something that we need to ensure, A, you get fixed properly, but B, that you having to deal with that challenge for the rest of your life, that there are things that you deserve for that, right? The reason I've never done this is analysis paralysis. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. And what I love about, from what I understand, I don't know much about re-medical, but, my very good friend, Zach Bell, all glowing recommendations. First and foremost, this is the United States of America, and free will is something that I have. I need a choice of how exactly I go about the pursuit of dealing with my VA claim.
Absolutely.
Right? Welcome to the United States of America.
Welcome to capitalism.
Free will is a motherfucker. So I am gonna leverage that free will. If I wanted the government to come and help me, I would have the government come and help me. I'm from the government. I'm here to help. That's never really worked out very well for me. So I'm gonna use services that I'm very selfishly excited. Free services from the government. If I want expertise not related to the process and bureaucracy and red tape that the government goes through every day, that you're not a part of and you just have to know.
Exactly.
Right. It's a very, very obvious choice for me. Right. And I love the way your model is, the way we've been talking behind the scenes. I do my homework. I think that's apparent. Right. There were questions that I had for you that were very, very important to me. Like, how do you work as a business? Are you taking advantage of me? And I would tell people if you were, that's just me. Right. It's an accountability thing. I think it's extremely fair. I think it allows you to pay your personnel. It allows you the research and development time to ensure you're staying on top of all of these regulations that are getting put in place, that left and right, they're dropping memorandums for record over here that you're having to pay attention to. And
new legislation.
Oh my God, dude. If I had to, I don't envy you guys at all. Right. Like, I've got my own challenge. That just seems like a mountain that I would not be ready to climb. But that's why I personally, just as an individual, not even recommending it to anybody at this point, I have an intent to leverage your service, right? Because I need to do it. And I need somebody that's an expert, that is not a part of the government's bureaucracy and process, but knows that process, right? That's why I'm going to come to Reed and see what I can do.
That's great perspective.
Myself.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
I ask all of our guests this, and speaking directly to our audience, and with your experience, with wisdom and guidance, we have veterans out there that may be struggling with their benefits. We have veterans out there that may be struggling to find their community. Mm-hmm. We have military members that are getting ready to transition out. Speaking directly to our audience, we'd love for you to just share some words of wisdom, some words of guidance, and finish this up that way.
I don't know if I have words of wisdom. I have words of experience, right? So, for a multitude of reasons, I've had my own struggles. Not all of them related to military. Just being, growing up in America and trying to make my way from where I was to where I am now. There have been times that I've had to place a phone call to somebody that I trusted very well, and they had to remove firearms from my house. This is many, many years ago. Having somebody that you're close to, that you can call, being a part of that. That's why we talked about community earlier. And God, it's just such an overabused word, but there's really not a better word for it. Not separating yourself and ensuring that you are keeping your friends with you so that you can struggle together. We're all struggling. We're all dealing with something. Everybody has problems. Problems are relative, right? My worst day could be one of your best days, right? Your worst day could be my best day, right? Everybody's problems are relative, but the only way to work through those with the necessary resilience is going to be alongside other people. We are all strong people. I get it. I am a strong, independent man, and I can handle my own. But I need my people, right? I need my family. I need my friends. And I don't have many friends. I have plenty of acquaintances, but I have certain 4 a.m. friends. One of them was here last night. You met him. That I can call 4 a.m. and say, hey, I need you, bud. And he's going to be there. He lives in Atlanta. I live in Virginia. He's going to drive. And he knows that I'll do the same thing. You have to make sure that you're continuing, in my opinion, this is just one guy, one random dude. I'm a nobody. You have to make sure you're continuing to keep the people close that you have shared experiences with, that you can struggle with. Because without doing that, when you separate yourself from the world saying, hey, no, I deserve to be alone, you do not. There are people that will listen to you. You know that there are. And you know that there is somebody that you can call. They're on your brain right now, and you need to call them, right? Especially if you're going through something that you need to bounce off of somebody. It could be the smallest thing too, like goodness sakes, your mower breaks down or something and you can't mow, and that gets stacked on top of, I don't know, you got in an argument with somebody at work, and they told you that they're going to need to put you on notice or something like that, and then you stack that on top of the bills that you got to pay, and you stack that on top of something else. Stack tolerances. You start stacking those Jenga blocks, and eventually it's going to fall down, but you need somebody else to be there to strategize through that Jenga tower with you, and you know exactly who it is, and you need to put a call into them. Because if you don't, then you're going to be dealing with that yourself. And yes, we are all strong people, but we all have our limits. And your limit is different than mine. Your limit's different than mine. Mine is different than yours. Put a call in. Reach out to somebody. Just start a conversation. Doesn't matter big or small what you're dealing with. That's what I would say.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much for sitting down with us, Ronnie. We really appreciate your time, man.
Yes, sir.
Huge fan. Where can the community check out? I don't think we covered it at the beginning. I just really want to enter it before we close. Where can the community check out American Marksman?
Yeah, so you're going to find us in a lot of places. We have distribution on obviously Funker 530. Our primary platform is Pepperbox TV. Absolutely love the guys over there at Pepperbox. They've been friends of mine for years. Gave me a platform that I can do that I don't have to fight YouTube every day. We are publishing to YouTube as well. It's a brand new YouTube. There's really not a whole lot going on over there. Pepperbox is where I'd say the primary stuff goes, but YouTube will fill up over time. So American Marksman YouTube, American Marksman Pepperbox channel, but also on Funker 530. So Funker 530 is the production arm of this. So we're publishing a lot of it to our Funker 530 YouTube, as well as the National Association for Gun Rights. I actually hold a W-2 with the National Association for Gun Rights, and they have licensing agreements for American Marksman. I'm the director of industry. So if you're here from from the industry and you'd like to let your customers know that you support gun rights, give me a call. Reach out to me. Mostly Twitter. That's where I do most of my work. I just argue with myself on Twitter, really, is what it is. Call myself an idiot here and there. But that's where you'll find American Marksman until Netflix picks us up. Then you'll find us on Netflix.
Come on, Netflix. Thank you for your time, Ronnie.
Thanks, guys.
This has been awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you.
We loved sitting down with you, man. And I can't wait to play some guitar.
Thank you, brother.
All right.